This is a beautiful story by Rabindranath Tagore. As you know, Rabindranath Tagore actually is a great poet, and he's also the one who wrote the Indian national anthem. So this is a beautiful story by him. I was searching for God for thousands of lives. I saw him, sometimes far away. I rushed, and by the time I would reach there, he had gone further. It went on and on. But finally, I arrived at a door. And on the door was a sign: "This is the house where God lives." Rabindranath says, I became worried for the first time. I became very troubled. Trembling, I went up the stairs. I was just going to knock on the door, and suddenly, in a flash, I saw: if I knock on the door and God opens the door, then what? Then everything is finished. My journeys, my pilgrimages, my great adventures, my philosophy, my poetry, all the longing of my heart, all is finished. It will be suicide. Seeing the point, Rabindranath says, I removed my shoes from my feet because going back down the stairs might create some noise. And from the moment I reached the bottom of the steps, I ran and have not looked back. Since then, I have been running and running for thousands of years. I'm still searching for God, although now I know where he lives. So all I have to do is avoid that place, and I can go on searching for him everywhere else. But I have to avoid that house. That house haunts me. I remember it perfectly. If by chance I accidentally enter that house, then all is finished.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. Thank you very much. I won't ask you to repeat that one. So, okay, I'm going to be picky. These are oracle cards, aren't they? There's some kind of, they're not tarot, are they? Are they tarot?
He calls it Zen Tarot Cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tarot cards usually you've got the major arcana, the minor arcana cards. The minor arcana are like a pack of playing cards. They've got four suits, as it were.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the major arcana are a sort of what's the word?
Water,
Archetypes.
I think the water, rainbow, water, fire, I think it's the elements, if I'm not mistaken, the major
Yeah,
arcanas. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the minor. The minor are like the four suits, and each suit is like one of those elements.
I see. Yeah. Mm.
The major arcana are like archetypes, and there's a journey. Um, it sounds. I don't know if this is one of the major arcana cards or not. A lovely story. Why did you choose to read it to us?
I found it very poignant, and also I think I've mentioned this to you, but I love um, kind of being super honest with myself. And this poem, or this poetry, this story is extremely honest in sometimes reflecting what I feel, um, in reflecting the fact that there's all this inquiry going on and seeking in me, and uh, there's also this fear that what if I actually become realized? What happens to this beautiful world that I'm enjoying right now? All my relationships, my lovely pleasures and enjoyments and all of that. And imagine I'm sitting in India, by the way, having a blast when I'm reading this, right? So so it was just so hard hitting in its truth, and I found it hilarious and lovely at the same time, a very deep message, which is why I thought I'd read it and share it with the rest of you. Yeah.
No, thank you. I think I think there's a lot of truth in what you've read. Out of interest, anyone here with me or on Zoom, anyone resonate? Raise your hand if you resonate with the story at all. Okay, so almost everyone in the room, yeah. And on Zoom again, please. So what, maybe a third of fourth, maybe half of you, third of you, half of you resonate. So it's very powerful then, if that many people are resonating. And I've heard this kind of sentiment many times. I didn't really have this myself because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I think if I did, I probably would. I hadn't really, I just sort of maybe walked through the door without thinking, you know. So maybe I was lucky. Take your shoes off. Yeah, that was funny. That was a funny part of the story, wasn't it? So you can run away without making a noise. See, there's a double meaning, isn't there? Because typically in India, you would take your shoes off before you enter the property. So Rabindranath Tagore is creating that suspense and subverting what the expectation is. Because the expectation is you're taking your shoes off so you can enter. And he's saying we take the shoes off so I can run down the stairs and not make a noise. Or very close, very slowly walk down the stairs. So it's clever storytelling there, as is very typical with Tagore, very, very evocative writer who knows how to tell a story, knows how to spin a yarn. I've not heard that story before. I've heard similar stories, but I've not heard that particular story before. That's quite interesting.
What about Adam and Eve? Adam and Eve hide from God in the garden.
So Gordon is saying that Adam and Eve hide from God in the garden. Oh, is that right?
Realize they're naked. I think it's more a bit more metaphorical.
Yes, that's right.
They realize their state and they hide from God.
Yeah. Gordon's saying Adam and Eve, when they realize they're naked, they hide from God. And that's why you often see them depicted with the leaves covering their private areas
Yeah.
because they then try and clothe themselves. Yeah. I think the way I've interpreted that is they become self-conscious. I mean, conscious of themselves as limited, and then they feel small and insecure and vulnerable, and then they try and clothe themselves to protect themselves from that vulnerability. Whereas before, when they're one with God, they don't feel limited or insecure. So there's no need to clothe themselves. This is also like Michael Langford writing in Mananasha, the book. Do people raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about there? Okay, good few of you there. So in the sorry, Rahul, do you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely remembering it. I've read Manonasha, and I'm trying to remember. There are moments where he talks about um, fear coming in as he rests in the I am, but I'm not remembering a specific moment. Not remembering that.
So Luke?
He's one of his students that like goes to the door.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Talks about like one of the students who
Towards the end.
was practicing doing lots of self-inquiry, and then said that he sort of went to the door of the self and got scared.
Oh, that's correct. Yes. Yes, that's right. That's what I was thinking of. So Luke was saying that in Mananasha, Michael Lanford recounts one of his students in his self-inquiry practice. He shares how he came to a door, the door of liberation, and then became incredibly scared. And then Michael Langford starts to talk and comment on this, how everyone at some point comes to this precipice where they feel realization is imminent and they feel incredibly fearful and they bolt, they run, or they become incredibly afraid. And the difference between, I don't know, you know what Michael Langford's like, the difference between the one in the gazillion who finally attain, permanent love, awareness, peace, bliss, and the millions who never attain it are the ones who kind of go through that door anyway.
I'm sure he says never. It's quite rare.
To get to the door, you're right. Luke saying that not everyone gets to the door. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. To get to the door is a feat.
It says 1 in 3 billion.
1 in 3 billion or something.
Yeah.
Very rare. You're right. But everyone, what he says is that everyone who becomes, I think what he says is that everyone who attains liberation goes through this. I think he says that. Now, I don't actually remember going through that at all. In that way he describes, but I do remember feeling afraid. And for me, it was the fear of death. It was the fear of annihilation, the fear of not being here. That's what it essentially was for me. So that, but I'm trying to remember that that fear of death went quite early on, and then it was just love for a lot, and then dissolving, merging. Whereas the way Michael Langford describes it is that door is the ultimate right at the end. And then once you go through that, once you cross that fear, then that's liberation. These are all aspects of Maya. So remember, with this teaching, we should never get too hung up on Maya and the order of things happening in Maya. That doesn't matter. You cannot say something is completely true for Maya in terms of what's happening within it. In terms of what's happening within it. And the order of things that should happen. Or you have to have this experience and that experience. That is itself, to get to believe that is itself to get caught up in Maya. Rahul, I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on this, though. And I do recall last Sunday you had a question we didn't get to. And
This was good. It was actually reading this is what I was
going to ask. Yeah.
Thanks for remembering. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, yes, there's a fear, but I don't think I'm at that stage where, if I'm honest with myself, at that stage where I have that fear of death, which is preventing me from deepening my inquiry. For me, it's kind of similar, but a mirror image of that in some ways. It's actually the attraction to the world. That is, and it's the exact same thing, but I feel like it's the attraction of the world is just so strong for me right now that I find myself sometimes wondering, like, am I fooling myself? Like, do I really want realization? Because I love, aspects of the world so much. I get attracted so much. And leaving that is the fear in some ways. So, yeah, and maybe ultimately it is the fear of death. It's the fear of leaving the happiness that I'm getting right now, which is temporary. But yeah, that's why this spoke to me so much.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, for me, that was maybe a part of the fear of death. It was a part of losing all the stuff I have.
Yeah.
And that includes, all the fun things you might want to do or like to do, all your ambitions in your life, those sorts of things. Again, luckily for me, I was not that ambitious, actually. So I did have some things I wanted to achieve, but it wasn't that much really. So, and again, my mind having been exposed to these kinds of teachings from a young age probably helped a bit with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the contemplations I enjoyed doing from a fairly young age was what I was taught as a Buddhist contemplation, which is to imagine every night before you go to bed, losing everything you ever own, just not losing everything, all your material possessions, and then, you know, things like your health, your family, your looks, your vitality, your energy. And so I used, you know, when I first started doing that, it was quite challenging, but after some time, it becomes easier. And I really enjoyed doing that. Well, I was drawn to it. Maybe enjoyed is the wrong word. And that helped me through this. So maybe that's something some of you can consider if you've not tried that before. I do want to say to you, Rahul, that please don't worry about that. You know, it's all the more impressive that you keep on coming to satsang, given that's how you feel about life, to be honest. A lot of people in your situation, they would just stop coming to this satsang, I think, because this satsang doesn't really paint a picture of liberation when you can have your cake and eat it. You see, it can be quite stark here. So respect to you for keep on, you know, for still being here. That's great. You do have a desire for liberation. That's, you know, you wouldn't be here otherwise.
100%, yes.
You clearly
Yes.
do have a strong desire for liberation, but you have a strong desire for the world, which is wonderful to hear you say, because you're speaking truth. You're being honest with yourself. Please don't worry about that. Everyone who comes here has that. Everyone loves life and loves to do whatever they want to do. That's why they're not liberated. That's why everyone is not liberated. Well, that's one of the main reasons.
Yeah.
And that will disappear. You know, so, as I say, as I sometimes say, the desires that seem so strong that you can never imagine overcoming them, suddenly they fall away. Just like, I don't know, paper in a breeze. Just falls away. Something you think that's got such a grip of you. Over a period of months, it might just slip away from you. So please don't, never worry. Oh gosh, I'm so attached to the world. I enjoy doing all these things, all these activities, you know, whatever it is for you, traveling or indulging in sense pleasures or whatever it is. Don't worry. Bhagwan is here. That's what it is to be a jiva, to be a human being, is to be attracted and attached to all these things. But if you stay connected to Bhagwan and his teachings, without you even making the effort to, in fact, I recommend you don't make too much effort to snap these attachments to the world.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know?
realizing that, Tom. I actually, I've been doing a lot of just Ramana Japa every day, every minute, whenever I remember. And I feel like the pull is getting weakened. Pull towards Maya is getting weakened in a lot of ways automatically. But I think you had reminded me last time I had brought up Vairagya as an issue. And you know, reading a lot about these texts around Vairagya being or detachment being the prerequisite to liberation, and not having a hard time with that. I think you had told me two things. One is leave it to Ramana, and the second thing you'd mentioned was the body mind will never understand Vairagya, and I remember that as well. Is letting go of is the desire for Rahul to understand it. I don't think he'll ever get it. So
Yeah.
that was really helpful.
And again, it's not about Rahul enjoying less and less things necessarily.
Mm.
It's about a love to come home. And that's the London to Paris metaphor as well.
Yeah.
You know, you might love London. You might love London. You might love all the things that London's a fantastic city. You know, it's an amazing place. There's so much to do here. So it's not about not enjoying London, but then suddenly you find somewhere else that you yearn to be even more. And then it doesn't feel like a loss when you leave London and go to
Mm.
Paris. So cultivate your love, your affection for Bhagwan and yourself and the silence. And then you'll find effortlessly the attachment to the world will start to reduce, especially when you start to enjoy the bliss of silence, the serenity, the peace. It's a peaceful bliss. Once you start to appreciate that, you cannot get that in sense objects. Have you felt that before, Rahul?
Yes.
Yeah. And I really like that word cloying that we came across a few weeks ago in Satsang. I'm not sure if you were here or not, Rahul. There's that word cloying that was used in one of the verses in Guru Vachaka Kovai. And cloying, I learnt, meant, and it was talking about fruit that's cloying.
Mm.
And well, actually, it was talking about the uncloying fruit of the self, I think. And cloying, I learnt, means when something is sickly sweet.
Yeah.
When you eat something and it tastes good, but it's a bit too sweet and you don't like it. And sense pleasures become like this. You know, they're great at first, but then they become, even the good ones become too sweet. And that's a form of suffering. But the self is uncloying. It's uncloying sweetness. It's the fruit that never is too much, never gets too sweet. It's just perfectly refreshing. Always. It's the bliss of silence, of deep sleep. It's what we're all looking for. It's total happiness, peace, bliss, no suffering, devoid of suffering. And all we need to do is cultivate a love for that. And satsang is one of the best ways of doing that, especially the silence at the beginning, if you can get a sense of it. Gordon.
Is there something a bit melodramatic about that story then? Because how long does it take to go through a door? 2 seconds. I mean, that's terrifying. But if you're saying attachments can fall away over months, I find that a bit more reassuring.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'm terrified of, there's some kind of event.
Yeah.
When a door opens, I have to go through the door and the door shuts.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no thanks.
yeah.
But your time,
That's
I like
right.
your time frame much better.
Yes. No, that's right. That's absolutely right. That's right.
Oh,
Just so reassuring.
Yes.
That just stopped that fear.
Yes, that's true. So I'm assuming people on Zoom couldn't hear the conversation. Don't worry. Okay, no, I will tell you. I will tell you. So I'll start. So first Gordon spoke to me, then Sarah. And Sarah said, I'll start with Sarah first because it was simpler. She said that she remembers I said to her once that everything you love comes with you in liberation. It's true. Everything you love comes with you. So your children, you love your children. They come with you in liberation. You love your family, your parents. They come with you in liberation. You love this activity, that feeling, that pleasure. It all comes with you in liberation. Everything you love, everything you want comes with you in liberation and more. So in this London to Paris metaphor, which I use, London comes with, you go to Paris, you find London there too. Everything you love comes with you in liberation. You don't lose anything. You lose nothing. You lose nothing. You lose nothing. The only thing you lose are the things you don't want. The illusion. You lose the illusion. Illusion was never there. But everything you love comes with you in liberation. You don't have to be afraid. Metaphorically, well, and really, I guess, but either. when you attain liberation, you liberate all your loved ones at the same time. When you become liberated, all your loved ones are instantaneously liberated. So some people worry, oh, when I become liberated, what will happen to my family, my loved ones? Some people think, well, they all attain liberation too. So there's nothing to worry about ever. So you can go through that door and not worry. Gordon's point was that the reason I was laughing, he said he liked my time frame more than the time frame of the story for Tagore, because he said, isn't the Tagore story quite dramatic? You know, you're wandering around, you find a door, you walk through it 2-3 seconds, and then bam, you're gone. You're absorbed into God or something. That's a bit quick. That's a bit sudden. That's what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my time frame as well, it can take a few months, you know, of the vasanas, of the attachment slowly falling away.
The sleeper train.
The sleeper train. Oh, what does that mean? What do you mean?
Like overnight train.
Like overnight train?
Sleep on them.
Yeah.
So you're like the slow train.
The slow train.
Opposed to the LNER.
LNER, fast train. Okay. Yeah. The London Northeast Railway.
Yeah, sleeper train from London.
The sleeper train. I'm the sleeper train from London Paris. Okay. Yeah, I see. Not the express. Yes. SNCF. Do they still have the SNCF in Paris, in France? I think so, isn't it? Oh, it's the super fast high-speed trains in France.
Yeah.
They're really fast. When I was younger, I think they were the fastest trains in the world. And now the Japanese trains went faster since then, I think. And then you've got maglev trains. Okay, enough about trains. So Gordon was basically saying, yes, the suddenness of the story is quite frightening for him. But the idea that it doesn't have to be so sudden, it can be gradual, is reassuring for you. Yes. Yes. The thing about the door as well, I should mention, is that if you ever come to this point where you feel like you're on the precipice of liberation, and then suddenly the fear grips you, oh my gosh, I'm here. You know, oh fuck, I'm here now. Oh my gosh, I've been searching for it. Now I'm actually here. Oh no, I don't want it. I don't want it. This is what can happen. The other thing is that door, oh, who wrote TGV? Yeah, TGV. TGV. That's the train as well. That's the French train, TGV. SNCF is the I think the company, the rail. Doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. Yeah, TGV is the name of the train. SNCF is the name of, like, in the UK we have British Rail, or we used to have. Do we still have? We don't. We used to have British Rail here. So that's the name of the railway track line. And my youngest son will be telling me all the answers. He'll be screaming at me, "No, Dad, it's like this," because he knows all about trains. So when you come to that door and you're on the precipice, that may not be the final door. You may think, "Oh no, I'm at the final door," but you go in and then there's some more. You see, that's the other thing. Yeah, you're it's just another. There's like a corridor behind it, and there's some more houses or something. Oh, so you don't know. The advice is to not worry and to go through the door. The other thing that can happen, which happened to me several times, is that when you approach this door, when you get to a point, again, this sort of precipice, this sense that you're on the verge of liberation, your ego sprouts up. I can get very excited. That's happened to me several times before. The mind goes, oh yes, oh goody, 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 it's here. Finally, it's going to happen. That can happen. And what happens? You get a rush of thoughts, right? Which pushes the liberation away, so to speak. And that can happen as well, where the greed for liberation comes in. So the advice there is, the advice generally actually is not to worry about liberation, not to worry about it. Forget about liberation. Be. Be. See, earlier on, we say the desire for liberation is incredibly important. If you don't have a desire for liberation, you won't take the time to learn about these teachings, learn what the practice is, learn what the practice isn't, you know, make the journey from London to Paris. But eventually we have to not care about liberation. We have to just love to be. And whether you're liberated, whether you're not liberated, who cares? And maybe this was one of the advantages for me in my path, is the path of bhakti. When you feel in love with Ramana, when you feel in love with Bhagavan, you don't care about that. So bhakti, the path of bhakti, takes care of all of this stuff without you having to even think about it. I didn't think about this stuff. I didn't know all this stuff, really. I knew some of it intellectually, you know, but it all went out the window with bhakti, with love. You stop caring about liberation. You stop caring about, oh, well, just happy to be with Bhagavan. Just happy to be with him. To be, just to be what you are. And then when you don't care about liberation, then you don't care about these doors and things like this either. So, love to be, not love for liberation. Because, why? Because for the mind, liberation is an object. We love to be without the mind, be with ourselves. Everything you need, everything you adore, everything you love will come with you. There's never anything to fear with this path. There's never anything to fear. There's never anything to fear in this path. It's our idea of what liberation is that might be scary to us. It's our idea of what death is or what might happen. That's what scares us. There's never any reason to fear on this path. Beautiful path. You are safe. Always eternally safe on this path. There's never anything to fear. Everything you love will come with you.